is it possible that at just 17 years old, Lamine Yamal is the best football player in the world? At the same age, both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were barely playing first-team football, yet Yamal has already won the Euros, La Liga, and made over 100 first-team appearances for club and country. But how did this even happen? How is a 17-year-old skinny teenager being labeled as the best football player in the world? This is the full story of Lamine Yamal.
It's got Lamine Yamal, Lamine Yamal, and Lamine Yamal into the roof of the net. Yamal. Got a bend on it. That is simply amazing. The youngest player.
Do you believe in fate? Because if you don't, try explaining this, because the story of Yamal begins with this image of Lionel Messi literally baptizing a young Yamal as a baby. The plot is almost too good to be true, but Messi washed Yamal as part of a UNICEF commercial in 2007, as Messi, an introvert by nature, awkwardly bathed and cradled Yamal, a baby too young to babble the words of Barcelona's famous El Cant del Barça anthem. The Argentine legend was unaware he was in the presence of the boy who'd one day inherit his throne as Barcelona's best player. But despite Messi's blessing, Yamal's upbringing was far from perfect. The boy's family moved to Mataró, a small Catalonian town 30 kilometers northeast of Barcelona, and despite beautiful beachside surroundings, Yamal's early experiences were defined by instability, poverty, and adversity. Yamal's father was a Moroccan-born builder and ex-football hopeful, and his mother was a hard-working waitress from Equatorial Guinea, and they both struggled to make ends meet during his childhood, not to mention the fact that they were young parents, having had Lamine whilst they were still just teenagers. Still, the hard-working married couple dreamed of providing their son with a better quality of life than they received during their troubled childhoods. But without an academic or skilled background, breaking the cycle of financial difficulty appeared challenging. Yamal's father had an impressive amateur football career and noticed his son's potential with the ball from an early age. There was something innate, natural, and effortless about the way Yamal controlled the ball during kickabout sessions on the Mataró beaches. Perhaps it was a result of Messi's blessing. But while the future Barcelona star's parents were ambitious about his future, it became clear that Yamal's route out of poverty wouldn't be forged in a classroom, but would be discovered with the freedom of a ball at his feet. He joined local club CF La Torreta as a 4-year-old, where he played with the same flair, joy, and expression as he gracefully displays in Europe's biggest matches today. While many of Yamal's childhood teammates glanced at their parents for reassurance after the anxiety of making a mistake, the future Golden Boy winner remained calm and unfazed by the noise around him. He dazzled past defenders with a combination of natural football intelligence, athleticism, and skill, scoring dozens of goals in his 3 seasons at the amateur Catalonian club, and it wouldn't be long before the young football prodigy's nonchalance would be tested. Before he turned 7, the age other wonder kids like Jude Bellingham first started experimenting with football, Yamal already had several elite Spanish academy admirers. The 7-year-old reportedly attracted interest from Real Madrid, Espanyol, and Valencia, among various Spanish clubs on its sun-drenched East Coast, and there was only one destination considered by Yamal, and luckily, his wishes would finally start to come true. But interestingly enough, Yamal's father was a Real Madrid supporter, so he was heavily pushing the boy to sign for the Los Blancos Academy. But despite his efforts, young Lamine idolized Ronaldinho, Neymar, and of course, Lionel Messi. So in the hopes that he could one day follow in the footsteps of his idols, he joined the famous Barcelona Academy, La Masia, and it's safe to say he tore it up. During Yamal's under-7s to under-9s campaigns at La Masia, he was head and shoulders above his teammates, and Yamal did not stop progressing. His coach Albert Puig told ESPN, "What surprised me most with him is not that he was already a lot better than the rest of his teammates in both age groups, but that as time passed, rather than things balancing out, which usually happens, Lamine stood out even more." Meanwhile, Barcelona's official club website states, at La Masia, he raced through the age categories quicker than any other player of his generation. In contrast to many childhood superstar talents who lost their heads after experiencing success at a young age, Yamal remained humble. He'd continue playing football on the streets, parks, and beaches of Mataró with his hometown friends, without mentioning he was secretly lighting up La Masia and attracting scouts across Europe on the side. But Yamal's hidden glory soon would be exposed, because after scoring 56 goals in 30 appearances while playing a couple of age groups up, La Masia Chiefs were almost certain the winger had the potential to become the next legend to graduate from the famous academy. academy. So Barcelona offered Yamal the chance to live at La Masia residency so their coaches could pay close attention to the wonder kid's sleep, workload, and lifestyle choices. And as the winger continued to develop, the world would soon start to take notice. During a La Liga Promises Santander tournament where Barca faced Liverpool, Juventus, and Dortmund, among a host of elite Spanish clubs, Yamal obliterated the competition. The youngster scored 7 times, featured in a 6-1 demolition of Real Madrid, which was the first of many times he'd humiliate his El Clasico rivals, and he also won the player of the tournament as Barcelona lifted the trophy. It was after this tournament that the national team finally started to take notice, and Yamal was invited to train with the under-15 and 16 teams. And despite the superior physical presence of older youth international defenders, Yamal continued to pull off the unthinkable with natural ease. Come 2023, after impressing in the Spanish youth setup, Yamal featured in the under-17 European Championships as a skinny, underdeveloped 15-year-old, but despite the age gap, it looked as easy as playing on the concrete streets of Mataró. The Catalonian scored 4 times, and some of the game's biggest names were taking note. Florentino Perez was aware of Yamal's father's lifelong love for Real Madrid and invited him to the Bernabeu VIP lounges to convince the 15-year-old to switch alliances and join Los Blancos. But despite the flattering interest, Yamal had little interest in switching to his El Clasico rivals, because during the 22-23 campaign, the teenager's form was so good it was difficult for the first-team manager Xavi to resist fast-tracking Yamal into the first team. And who could blame him? He was so good in the youth setup that he'd roulette and elastico past defenders, and unlike other youngsters who try the extraordinary, Yamal had a deadly final product too. So after seeing him impress in the youth team for so long, Xavi decided to give the young star a chance in the first team, and this is where Yamal's career would finally start to take off, and things are about to get really, and I mean really crazy from here. Now, if you're enjoying the story so far, subscribe. And if you're not, well, I promise that's about to change, because in September 2022, a 15-year-old Lamine Yamal was thrown into training with the Barcelona squad, and the young Catalonian wizard would not disappoint, because Yamal danced past Jordi Alba, Gerard Piqué, and Sergio Busquets in Barcelona training sessions, to the point that people within the club really started to question whether they had the next Lionel Messi on their hands. But still, he was just a boy, and both Xavi and Barcelona knew they had to nurture their upcoming superstar a little while longer before they unveiled him to the world. On April 23, 2023, Xavi named Yamal as a sub in a La Liga match against Atletico, but the teenager didn't make it onto the pitch as Barcelona clinched a tight 1-0 victory. But just a week later, he was named in the squad again, this time against Real Betis. And after 83 minutes, with Barcelona cruising to a 4-0 victory, Xavi decided it was time to release the teenage prodigy onto the world stage. So Yamal, aged 15 years and 290 days, replaced Gavi to become the youngest player to represent the Blaugrana in a league match. And during Yamal's short cameo against Betis, the 15-year-old showed glimpses of his golden potential as he almost provided an intricate assist for Dembélé, but the game fizzled out without any changes to the scoreline. Now, usually, Barcelona would manage a youngster like this over a number of years, but the club were in financial turmoil as Barcelona were quite simply broke. They were forced to sell Ousmane Dembélé, the club's first-choice winger, and Ansu Fati, another youngster previously tipped to become the next Messi, wasn't progressing the way many had hoped. So, as they were unable to spend big in the transfer market, Barcelona could no longer ignore the teenage sensation tearing apart seasoned defenders in preseason and decided he was going to be fast-tracked into the starting 11. So, incredibly, Yamal started the 23-24 season among Barcelona's first-choice wingers. 3 games into the La Liga campaign, having already featured in the previous 2 fixtures, Yamal confirmed his star boy status after winning man of the match and providing an assist in a 4-3 victory over Villarreal. Xavi and Barcelona might have been reluctant to throw Yamal into the deep end too promptly, but it was clear the boy could swim. Having featured in all of Barcelona's opening 11 La Liga fixtures, Yamal became the youngest player to feature in an El Clasico match in November, and the following month, sports journalists across the world had seen enough for the Catalan to become the youngest player to be nominated for the prestigious Golden Boy Award. Yamal's flair, creativity, and skill had been evident throughout the season, but he only had 1 goal to his name by the turn of the year, but that's when the youngster decided to take his game up a notch. He became the youngest player to score in the Copa del Rey and Supercopa in back-to-back months and made the right-wing position his own as he became one of the first names on Barcelona's team sheet. During a two-game period in February 2024, the 16-year-old produced 4 goal involvements in La Liga, and suddenly the world's media were not viewing Yamal as a teenager with sky-high potential, but as a player already skilled enough to dominate games at the highest level. In April 2024, Yamal's hype grew to another level after becoming the youngest player to register 10 goal involvements in a La Liga campaign. And during Yamal's first season for Barcelona, the teenager broke records weekly, consistently showing he belonged at the top level. But if he still had any doubters questioning his ability, what was going to happen over that summer was something that football had never seen before, as this 16-year-old was going to make history for his country and announce himself as no longer just a wonder kid, but as one of the best players in the entire world.
That is simply amazing!
In the summer of 2024, it was announced that Lamine Yamal had made the squad for the Euros with Spain, but this wasn't a Spanish squad of the late 2010s. This was a young and upcoming team with no stars in the ranks, and with the likes of France, England, Portugal, and Germany all bigger favorites, nobody really gave Spain a look. But this is what makes what happened even more remarkable. The teenagers started each of Spain's 3 group games as the young squad negotiated a tricky group with 3 victories without conceding a goal. However, it was in the tournament's knockout phase that Yamal came alive. The winger was growing in confidence as he notched 2 assists in round of 16 and quarterfinal victories over Georgia and Germany when Spain drew France in the tournament's semi-final. With Mbappe, one of the world's supposed best players in their side, the European Giants won the World Cup in 2018 and reached the final in 2022, and few gave Yamal's Spain team a chance of progressing to the final. In the opening stages, it looked like Spain's doubters would be validated. France took an early lead through Kolo Muani, but Yamal had other ideas. The ball dropped to the Barcelona winger from 30 yards out. He paused for a moment to gain his composure, as if his journey from the streets of Mataró to the mesmerizing lights of the Euro semi-final flashed before his eyes. He shimmied, twisted, and turned to create an angle for himself before unleashing an unstoppable long-range curling effort into the back of the net. Thanks to Yamal's sublime goal and inspiring overall performance, the teenager dragged his dream from the brink of elimination to win the semi-final 2-1. Spain had reached the final of a major tournament for the first time since the days of Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets in 2012, and everybody was talking about Yamal's unbelievable tournament, which consisted of 4 assists and 1 incredible goal. In the final, Spain faced England, a nation with another one of the world's supposed best players, Jude Bellingham. Once again, Yamal seemed nonchalant in the presence of stars the media told him to worry about. Spain dominated possession. Yamal lit up the right wing and intricately provided the opening assist as Luis de la Fuente's team effortlessly cruised past England to an iconic 2-1 victory. The tournament's biggest names, Mbappe, Bellingham, Kane, and Musiala, landed in Germany with intentions of lifting the trophy and elevating their reputations to godlike status. But it was the skinny 16-year-old from Mataró who stole the spotlight on the biggest stage. And this trend continued the following season. Mbappe teamed up with Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., and Rodrigo to create a Real Madrid team that could retain La Liga and the Champions League for several seasons, but they were unprepared for the generational heights Yamal was about to reach. And by the time Barcelona met Real Madrid for the first time in the 24-25 season in late October, Yamal had already registered 10 La Liga goal involvements in 11 matches. Despite the Catalan club's 6-point advantage in the league, Madrid's arrogance was unwavering as they hosted Hansi Flick's young team at the Bernabeu. In Real's eyes, a team of cheaply assembled misfits and La Masia graduates had no chance of competing with their Galacticos in the imposing Coliseum of their stadium. How wrong they could be. Barcelona cruised to an unforgettable 4-0 victory as Yamal registered his first senior goal against Madrid, and his fun against the reigning Champions League holders was nowhere near complete. Barcelona thumped Madrid 5-2 and 3-2 in the finals of the Supercopa and Copa del Rey as Yamal produced 3 more goal involvements. As the season continued and perceptions of Yamal evolved from the world's best young player to Ballon d'Or candidate, the winger played a sensational Champions League semi-final against Inter Milan that truly was the heir to Messi's throne. During the first leg, with his team 2-0 down, Yamal produced a moment of brilliance that perhaps surpassed his wonder winner goal against France in the Euros. Barcelona's inexperience and defensive naivety prevented them from reaching the Champions League final, but despite the heartbreak of an aggregate 7-6 defeat to Inter, Yamal's season wouldn't end in vain. With the Golden Boy Award already secured earlier in the season, Yamal had his eyes on Barcelona glory, the La Liga title. In early May, with just a few games of the La Liga season remaining, Barcelona met Real in an El Clasico that would surely determine the campaign's champions. The arrogance of Madrid, having been humiliated by the brilliance of Yamal in Barcelona 3 times that season already, had evaporated, and with good reason. Yamal scored as Barcelona edged to a 4-3 victory, which practically secured the 24-25 La Liga title, as Lamine Yamal proved yet again he was one of the best players in the entire world. Now still only 17 years old, he's in the running for the Ballon d'Or, and he genuinely has a shot at winning it. But what do you think? What we know for sure is that as remarkable as his journey has been, it's safe to say that at only 17 years old, he is still just getting started.